Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today is our 2K coach, also founder of the Stream Beat Podcast, Franky Garcia.
What's up?
See, I listen. When you want stuff, I get accused a lot of time of not being of the people. But look, you wanted to be introduced as Stream Beat co-founder, and here I am. I'm complying.
You totally forgot because you usually do the Stream Beat first, so.
Did I? I'm still getting.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you because I've hosted pregame show for the last week. I think Jack is returning tomorrow. I was confused if that was just a pregame show bit or not, and then I was like calculating in my head. So that's what happened there. That was the speed bump that you heard.
Okay.
If you're watching on twitch.tv/MIAHeatbeat, then you see his face on the bottom of the screen. The great Nekias Duncan of Basketball News. Nekias, welcome, my friend.
Hello. Great is high praise, but I am glad to be here.
Do you want to be like the good? Do you want to be like 70th percentile? Like, what do you want to?
You know what? Actually, yes. Give me the 70th percentile.
Okay, 72nd percentile of basketball analyst Nekias Duncan. You are the who is the 70? Who's in like the 70th percentile of like basketball players in the league?
I
feel like that's too low for Chris Middleton.
That's way too low.
That's way too low.
Wait a minute.
Like an average starter.
Like Alonzo Ball. Or
no,
is Lonzo too bad?
That's also low. I'm not doing any more Lonzo.
George Hill.
Is the George Hill of NBA analysts? No, I think the guy's a little. I think the guy's a little because like George Hill is like a final piece, right? Like you're a George Hill.
Like he doesn't hurt you.
That depends. If Jimmy Butler's hunting you and pick and roll, then, that got dicey for poor George Hill. You can also listen to Nekias' podcast, The Dunker Spot, co-hosted with Steve Jones Jr. Now, I shill it all the time because it's legitimately like some of the best stuff, and it's really funny, right? Like you would think, okay, like Nekias and Steve are just gonna drone about their Spain pick and rolls, and no, it's like legitimately really informative, educational, funny, and they go through. Listen, I've heard so much about the Minnesota Timberwolves and the San Antonio Spurs on that podcast more than I would like, but you get a really whole encompassing kind of look at the league, which is just really incredible. If you're a podcast listener, I always tell you this, I push this, y'all gotta come on Twitch because it's a lot of fun. Chat is popping already. They're happy Nekias is here. They're happy to see his shining face. Shades 50, by the way, thank you for the really wonderful comment at the top of the show. Thank God for this pod right now. I need something good. I'm struggling emotionally today, so this should help. Dude, we are here. We want to have fun with you guys, so thank you for the support and the love, and we love you back. So if you're joining us on stream, thank you, and if you're a pod listener, hope you can come by sometime. I'm excited for the show. We have a lot to talk about, guys, and I don't even know where to start. So Nekias, I'll let you pick where we go first. I want to talk about Bjelica's backup 5 minutes. I want to talk about kind of Goran Dragic's role going forward with Oladipo, or I want to talk about the early returns on Victor Oladipo. Which do you want to go to first?
I'm such a nerd because I kind of want to start with Bjelica, but
too.
The people are here for Victor Oladipo. Let's get some Victor Oladipo talking.
Okay, let's get some early returns on Depot. So I guess let's start with the defense because I think the offense is going to be a little more bumpy. The looks that they get switching is just, I mean, Nekias, it's just nice that they have a guard that can stay in front of somebody. It's been a while.
It's been a long time. Like the Heat still trend towards switching just about everything, and that can still be annoying at times. But I do like that when teams run this dummy action to where they're like run a guy across a flare or something because they want to set up the action first. The Heat don't have to switch that part because Victor Oladipo can actually stay with the ball handler, and that just helps them junk up the action a little bit later. And I mean, they're all smart, they're all long. Even if they do switch into a size mismatch, like Victor Oladipo has already shown that he can front in the post, and Miami's fantastic at scramming guys out and rotating behind it. And then when you have Jimmy Butler like splitting the difference, like he's going to pick that off like 7 out of 10 times anyway. So I have been excited from what I've seen from Victor Oladipo so far. At the point of attack, he's held his own against smaller guys, doing what he needs to do as a guy that fronts bigger players. It's refreshing to see a guard out there that knows what he's doing and is physically capable of doing that. So
Frankie, I see you're nodding your head. I've been surprised at like how springy he is. He's like flying all over the place. I was like, damn, I thought you were like really hurt.
This is what happens when you get out of a really bad relationship and you are appreciated, you are loved, you are surrounded by people who think just like you, and just try to promote your positive and not not talk about your shooting percentage all the time. Victor Oladipo doesn't have to be an all-star anymore. He can just be a really good two-way starter, and that's more than enough for Miami.
A 70th percentile type player.
We'll take it. Absolutely.
We'll take it. Marco in chat says Josh Richardson was the last good guard defender that Miami had.
This is Justice Winslow erasure. He was on the team last year.
I keep forgetting Justice. You're so right. It's but Justice and Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. But Justice was on the team last year and doing it.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, like you say that, and I saw that 5 Reasons reported today that Justice Winslow is either out for tomorrow or probably out. Thank you, Curtis Hero, for the tier 1 sub gift to Marco. Marco's a homie. We love Marco and we love Curtis. So I like Nekias. The Depot. I wasn't very in on Oladipo, and I lashed out. I don't know I think I said this on the pregame last time or whatever. I lashed out. I was unhappy because I wanted Kyle Lowry, and I lashed out. And I think at some point I just said Victor Oladipo's not good. I was emotional. I was hurt.
Chad, just to put you behind the scenes, we have like 17 people in the Heat Beat chat, DM message, and Gianni says, "I hate this," and he got thumbs down by like everybody.
Yeah, like it was like a mini Marcus Camby in chat. It was just it was bad. And Nekias, I started thinking about it in the context of the Raptors trading for Gasol, right? Because like I've been on the train of they need a 4 more than they need another guard, and I think that they needed both, but I thought 4 would have been like higher on my priority list. And they upgrade at guard, even though I thought that they had like a solid guard rotation. It had their flaws, but I thought in the playoffs last season, they were able to mask the fact that they couldn't defend a point of attack by switching and helping and their early rotations and all that stuff. And they get Depot, and he takes their defense from good to great. Like I think like legitimately like he and Ariza are going to give them like bite that they didn't have before, even though their defense was really good. And it made me think of the Marc Gasol trade because, and not that like they're like similar or whatever, but the Raptors had Valanciunas and Ibaka and a really good 2-headed center rotation. And they said, you know what? We are going to, even though we need a guard and a wing more, because they were really a guard and a wing short, they're like, we're going to upgrade the position that we're sure of. Because we know that we have 2 good players here. And they went from good in Valanciunas to great in Marc Gasol. And I remember at the time I was like, they're better, I guess, but like, they didn't address their biggest needs. And, obviously he was a huge part of a title team. So I think of it like that. Like he unlocks stuff that maybe like a guy like Harrison Barnes or somebody like positionally made more sense. But I think what they get out of Oladipo, especially on defense, is just it's gonna be transformative.
I agree. Again, like Miami just hasn't had this element at the point of attack. Like Justice was here last year, and we got a handful of games from him. And this year we had Avery Bradley for what? 12 minutes, 14 seconds, somewhere in there. So like Miami's never really had that. So now you add a guy like Victor Oladipo, who like quietly he's been a good defender all year. Like he isn't the all NBA version of himself on that end, but like he, even as he shot bricks in Indiana and also Houston, like the defense was always kind of there. The movement was kind of there. So adding Oladipo to this mix that Miami has, and their defense is already really good. Now you kind of eliminate some of the weakness that you had at the point of attack. Again, like they don't have to switch literally everything. Now they can just switch most things because Victor Oladipo can hold his own in space. Even improving on the margins that way allows Miami to take teams deeper into the clock. And if there's 6 seconds on the shot clock and now you're forced to attack Bam Adebayo, you're probably not going to win that possession too often. So I've loved what I've seen from on the defensive end so far.
Frankie, it's kind of like, remember, like, I think this is like common with SPO teams. Like the defense always comes first for guys when they get here.
Oh
more
yeah,
so than the offense.
I feel like that's what they preach. So that's the Heat culture. That comes from Riley himself and all the way to Spo. Like like what wins games, what wins what you can rely on more consistently. There's gonna be nights where guys aren't gonna hit shots. You can bring the defense every night though, and like Nekias said, it's like you're bringing another element that you were missing because like the defense all year, like pretty much all year, has had good statistics, but it was also like, what does the defense do well? That was really the question. Like there was it felt a little bit like fool's gold, and now you add Trevor Ariza, who's a versatile wing. You add Victor Oladipo as a point of attack guy, and you have depth defensively and versatility there on both ends. And I'm really excited for it. I want to see how this progresses because Victor's only going to get better at this and understanding the systems, when to take risks, when not to, and when to stay in position. And I'm excited for it. I want to see more.
Those little Ariza, Iguodala, Depot units are really fun.
No it's more really Tyler fun. And Duncan when you need to stop. Let's go.
They have very ball hockey units. What were you gonna say, Nick, guys?
I was just gonna say to Franky's point. Now they're only gonna play one of those guys, even though they don't have to.
Oh yeah, just only. It's in case we need a free throw, but the ball's going to Jimmy anyways.
God,
it's fun. It's very fun. And like on the Ariza front, that dude just guards everybody. I still don't like him against guards, but he uses every bit of the 7'2", 7'3" wingspan that he has. Like the Pacers game he's like legit defending Miles Turner, and Miles Turner's trying to sprinkle in the hooks, and like he's almost blocking the shot. And it's just like, wait a minute. Like fours aren't supposed to be able to do that against.
And on Lillard. Like I know that he fouled him at the end of that possession, but like I mean that wasn't the only time that game that he was on Lillard.
Right. So Trevor Ariza's been a godsend defensively. Now we'll see what happens with the shot because sometimes it's good and most times it's not. But he's getting quality looks and he has the history of knocking down those shots. So ideally he settles in. It's like a 37, 38% guy. And that's kind of all they need from him.
I think, and Jimmy's shooting like 75% at the rim. I saw this season, or like from 0 to 3 feet. So I think as long as they get enough, and that's with Andre spacing for him. Like, if Trevor is gonna be like you said, like just doesn't even have to be elite, which I think it'll come. Like I don't know, Franky, is there a doubt that it'll like not come? I mean, maybe that might be foolish just to assume, but I mean he hasn't played in forever, so I mean it's natural that he's gonna kind of take a little time to get the game speed.
Yeah, like you saw right away, his the game speed of getting his shot was really slow, a lot slower than I think he's ever shot it. So and it's improved. He's getting the shot off now. It's just about getting his rhythm in. He's still like he's just playing after missing like over a year. So you give him some time. He's getting enough open looks that I'm not too concerned about it. He's got the track record. It's not something that's out of his element to hit spot up in corner threes. Like I think we all know he can do it. It's just him doing it.
I think he's been really good, like in their off-ball screening, Nekias, and like I think that's probably like one of the harder parts of kind of coming to a new team. Like all that off-ball stuff, and Miami runs so much of it, and Duncan's just, I don't know if Duncan's fun to play with or not. I mean, that dude moves so much that you always gotta be doing something. I think he's looked really good, and like that to me on offense, that's where he's looked the best.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like I'm actually kind of surprised at how often Miami is using him in those screening actions. I just figured they would kind of park him as a spacer just to make it more difficult for teams to help off of him, and that kind of unlocks the other stuff. But he's an active mover, man. And I said early on when I hopped on here a week and a half or so, like I was surprised that when he gets the ball, he's actually able to touch the paint with it. Like he's obviously not going up and dunking on people, but even that pressure at the rim is something that they were kind of missing. And he's been able to do that, make the simple pass ahead, keep the defense in rotation. Then he's able to spot up or relocate from there. He's really helping juice the offense a little bit.
I'm sorry. I'm stopping the show because Schmeeth and Smolnik in chat revealed breaking news that I've just confirmed on Twitter. Paul Pierce has been fired from ESPN. I don't want to laugh at the man being fired, but just I
will. Fuck Paul Pierce.
given the events, the guy. I mean, I mean the whole Instagram video with I don't know if those women were strippers or Paul Pierce's friends. I don't know what was going on in an Instagram video, but it seems kind of harsh to fire him for that. I don't know. Is it?
Dwayne Wade better. Dwayne Wade better.
Nekias, thoughts?
Well, that's a
okay. We're getting this live. I mean, it's probably gonna hurt his Hall of Fame bid. Chat's happy.
I wouldn't go that far. It's an unfortunate situation for everyone involved.
Not me.
That was not a thing that I expected to wake up to.
No.
Clips of Paul Pierce with what looks like sadness in his eyes, smile on his face, booty in the air. It's just kind of a.
What were they throwing at? They were throwing like Tostitos or something.
I don't know.
I didn't know what was going on. It was a lot. Like there was a lot happening in that video, and I was like, I can't process all of this.
I mean, to be fair, though, those Big Three era Celtics only won one chip, so I guess they had to get some more in there. But I just did not.
That's how you do it, Steve Jones Jr.
Oh man, that's about as far as I want to go with that one. But yeah, it's just a weird thing to see, and it's unfortunate that this is the result. I've seen tweets like saying that he's married and stuff. I don't know if that's true, so I'm not going to comment on that part of it. But it was just everything about that was bizarre, and this is a natural endpoint to bizarre behavior when you work for ESPN/Disney. So
it's and unfortunately Rachel Nichols got a lot of, I don't know what happened there, but like people were like tweeting at her because somebody in the comments said, "Where's Rachel Nichols?" Which is just like incredibly unfair to her as like a professional.
Like weirdos.
Yeah, like that was just fucked up of everybody. And yes, Chad, I know they were poker chips. I was making a joke. I mean, Jesus Christ,
listen,
come on, get in on it. I mean, come on. Yeah. So we also, I think it was on the pregame, Nekias. We were like, it's just we don't accept that. We wouldn't expect that out of Paul. We were kind of going like out of all the analysts, like Kendrick Perkins. Okay, like would it surprise you if it had been Perk?
Yeah, that would have surprised me if it was Perk.
It would have surprised you. See, we were like, Kenny Smith's like a family man. You know, like if it was Kenny, if it was Chauncey Billups, it would have surprised us.
Yeah,
like Paul would have. Like I feel like once you get into like that analyst role, like I don't know, you're like Grant Hill would have surprised you. Chris
Absolutely.
Webber, you know, like yeah, we were
too polished. It's too polished. Like if that happened to Steven Jackson, you would have been like, okay. Or like Matt Barnes, like those guys, you'd have been like, yeah, okay. But this is a long time.
They run a rogue podcast. Is it on HBO? What is that?
I think
good.
It's Showtime.
I like it.
Might be Showtime.
Showtime, yeah, I think that is. It's whatever Deez and Mero on, they do it there.
Yeah, the Showtime.
But went on recently. That was really good.
Yeah, but this is a long time coming. He should have been fired when he said he was a better player than Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And Schmid Smolnik in chat says Hubie Brown would have survived that controversy. Yes, he would have.
Oh man, if Hubie gives the play-by-play on that, oh man, I need it.
There you go.
You see, this is why you aim at the booty. You see that recoil? That's what we're going for. There we go.
I love Hubie Brown. Hubie Brown's the best. All right, we've been sidetracked enough. Pour one out for Paul Pierce's media career.
F's in the chat.
F's in the chat for Paul Pierce. We can't make fun of him anymore. That's really the important part.
Says you.
We will find. Twitter will find a way.
Shit is pants.
Let's move to Oladipo on offense, because we kind of talked a little bit about what he and Trevor have done. But Nekias on offense, he's not settled yet. And he was a 20-point scorer, before he got here. I think in Houston he just averaged like straight up 20 points, not even counting the Indiana stuff. I'm not worried about that. Like I think that eventually, I mean, not that the Heat run like a Quinn Snyder level complicated offense, but I think it takes some getting used to. They run a lot of stuff. And I'm not too concerned. I think he'll fit in. I think I'm more concerned about the shooting, just because I just don't trust him as a shooter, even though his catch and shoots and his quarter numbers are good. I'm wondering how you feel about his kind of progression.
The pull-ups haven't looked great. Let's start there.
A lot of them too.
Yeah, there has been a lot of them. Like I feel like part of that is just him trying to get his legs under him. But yeah, the pull-ups haven't been great. So it's encouraging that Miami has mixed in some off-ball looks for him, and he has looked good as a cutter already. So the fact that he can kind of fit in a secondary role is encouraging. Um, he's obviously looked much better on spot-up looks so far. Kind of surprising. It doesn't seem like he's getting the same lift on those catch and shoot looks, but maybe that's just a small sample size thing. But I'm not too worried long term. Like when he does get the ball, he's touching the paint. That's what you need from him to do. He has shown that he can knock down spot up looks. You're going to need for him to get the pull up going to at least an average level, just so he can be more than a spacer slash closeout attacker. Because you do want more of him. You want more from him than that if you're planning on keeping him long term, and we're down the road on that. But that's going to be part of the evaluation. Like, if you want to give him a contract next year, he needs to prove that he can actually create some offense for you instead of just being the guy that reacts and keeps the chain moving. Because while that's valuable, that's not $25 million a year valuable.
He's their fastest downhill threat right now. Like he's quicker than I thought he'd be. Now this it's picking from Goran and Jimmy that listen, Jimmy moves to the beat of his own drum. I've never seen such a good pick and roll player that's as slow as he is. He takes life at his own pace. It's great. I love him. But Depot he has a bit of burst, which I like. The Euro has been nice. It's just an element. I think counting on his pull up, Franky, might be a little, I don't know. It's not something I would count on. I don't really know. I think as just a high screen and roll guy, I would like to see him use Jimmy as a screener more. I tweeted this out today. Jimmy's like the 83rd percentile as a screener. He's like amazing. What is it? 1.33 points per possession. Yeah, 1.33 points per possession as a roll man, which is just insane, especially with
86
the kind of shooters.
percentile.
86 percentile. I mean, I kind of want to see kind of some of those looks for Depot to get kind of Jimmy involved as I mean, you don't want Jimmy crowding your space. It's tough to think of his role going forward, and we're going to talk about that in the context of Dragic in a second, but I kind of wanted your thoughts kind of piggybacking on what Nekias said.
Yeah, definitely. He like you would love the pull up to be a legitimate weapon, but I don't think you need it so like to rely on it so much because I think your defense is so vastly improved that you're going to get more possessions in transition. You're going to be able to get opportunities elsewhere. Like Nekias says, he brings other things to the table. He's a good cutter. He was able to, I believe it was the first game, no practice or anything. He was able to get cut to the basket, find a hole, got the ball, collapsed the defense, kicked it out for an open shot for Trevor. It's just there's other ways he can contribute to the offense. And we know in the playoffs, Jimmy's going to be handling more. Bam's going to be handling more. Like you would love the pull up to be a legitimate weapon, but it's not completely necessary to, he doesn't have to be elite for him to be a positive impact player.
So when I look at the Heat's kind of offense in the playoffs, right? Because I think that anything we talk about now is in the context of how can they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? I think that's kind of, at least that should be the goal. I think that they're better than I think they're gonna want loftier than second round out. And if you look at what they can do, because like their defense, I think is gonna be good. So we got to figure out, can they score enough? Can they get enough going downhill, going to the rim to open up the handoff game and their shooters and all that stuff? And if I'm looking at Dragic and I'm looking at Depot, I'm thinking, okay, well last season the element that they had to their offense was they had the Jimmy high screen and roll game. They had Bam in the handoff game as a roller, as a facilitator from the elbow and all that stuff. You had obviously whatever Duncan did with him in the two-man game. And then I think probably the most important part was what Dragic gave you as an isolation player, as the guy with a legitimate step-back three, which I don't think that's been talked about enough. I mean, his step-back three last season was absurd. And we haven't seen that this season. And a guy that could get to the free throw line. Now, I think I trust Dragic in pull-ups more than any of these other dudes. That's looked pretty good this season. The step back, question mark, and the getting to the free throw line, question mark. So Nekias, and I've been thinking about this a lot because he was so important to everything that they did to get to the finals last season. And he just hasn't looked right this season. And not that his shooting numbers were like outrageous in that postseason run. They were like, they were pretty normal. But I think I was like, can Oladipo give you what Dragic gave you? Like, okay, so Dragic was 19-4-4 on 44, 35, and 80 splits. I think that the 44, 35, and 80 splits is like, I think he can replicate that, maybe not at volume. If Depot can kind of fill those gaps, I think they might be able to cobble enough offense. But I think Depot's like, they just don't have that isolation element. And that, I guess, guys, that's what I'm kind of concerned of, like, about both of them in the aggregate.
That is the concern. I think the benefits of adding a bit of Oladipo is that even now, like, not only does he get to the rim for you, he can do that without help. And that's kind of been the thing I've been tracking with Goran Dragic the last 2-3 years, and why I've been a vocal component of Miami selling high on him, which I've rightfully been yelled at about. But my thing with that is that as Goran has aged, like, when is the last time Goran got to the rim without needing a screen in the half court? Like, you can't think of many examples off the top of your head. So I do think playing him with the Victor Oladipo, or just playing him alongside Jimmy Butler more often, with Jimmy being more aggressive this year, I think it helps, because those two guys can legitimately force a rotation for you. And then you can have Goran attack from there. I think he should get easier opportunities. But he won't have to, because he has those guys. And then when he does get those opportunities, the defense will already be a little bit more loosened up, just because you have other guys attacking the touch of the paint that way.
I mean, I'll disagree with you on that. I think he got to the rim without a screen plenty last season. He was like, in the playoffs, he was like in the 94th percentile as an isolation guy. And I know a lot of that was the jumper. I know a lot of that was him stopping on a damn dime and defenders flying and him shooting. But I mean, I did think he had enough burst that he was getting to the rim. He was a really good. That last year was like one of his better finishing seasons in his career. I kind of disagree with that a little bit. I think this season that's certainly been the case, and even with the screen, I think he's struggling to kind of turn the corner and get to the rim. I don't know if that's the groin. I don't know if that's the foot. I have no idea what that is, but I think last year he did that plenty.
But that was more like rested Goran, coming fresh, not off an injury. And he was, like Nekias said, he was hitting all these pull-ups, so he was able to leverage that to get to the rim and stuff. It was the threat of the pull-up was so great that the defense had to overplay that to take away the three-point shot, and he got to the line of plenty like that. He was attacking a lot of those bigs, forcing the switches. Offensively, and it also helped that all Goran's playing with 2-3 guys at a time that were all hitting 40% from threes, so you can't leave anybody open. You're trying to switch, you're trying to neutralize them, and then Jay Crowder hits an open three, and then Tyler Hero hits an open three, Duncan hits a three, Kelly hits a three. Like, they had so much more shooters that also helped Goran's ability to get open and get to the basket. We don't have that luxury this year with Duncan be the only one like at 40% right now.
Is he at 40? Did he get to 40? Good for him.
I think he might be just under it. He's like 39.6 or something like that if you round up. But like, he doesn't have that luxury, so
40.03. Let's go, Dunk.
Let's go. We're back. We're back, baby. But I definitely think having another ball handler like that, like a depot that the defense has to account for, that can get to the cup, that can create shots for other people. So Goran can play secondary ball handler sometimes with Depot. And we saw somebody in the chat mention that Spo ran out a Depot, Goran, Tyler, Bam, and Belly lineup, and it did pretty solid from the eye test. And I like the potential of a lineup like that.
The hope is that the kind of moves at the shooting. So Duncan is our only guy shooting over 40 this season. I don't think Tyler's going to get there. No. I don't. I don't think Goran's going to get there. And I think maybe Ariza might be your next best shot at getting there, considering that he just started and he still has time to build a base. But like, their shooting's just not going to be what it was last season. It's just not. And I think even if Tyler goes through a hot streak, I don't think it's going to be enough. So they're going to need that downhill pressure. And if Goran can't give you that, then and I saw somebody said, I think it was Marco that said that, what Oladipo is going to give you is the ability to rest Dragic in the regular season. I mean, yeah, but I agree with that. But like Nekias, I think people talk about a lot of like, okay, we got to put Goran on ice, so we got to rest Goran. Man, Goran needs to play with these people. Like Goran needs to, you just can't drop Goran Dragic in a playoff series and he's played like 50 minutes with guys. It's like, okay, Goran, figure it out in our highly complex offense.
I mean, to be fair, like he knows the offense, so I don't think that's going to be much of an adjustment for him.
Playing with a guy like Depot, that's not an easy element to introduce when it's like another dominant ball handler who can't shoot.
Hey, less film for the teams in the playoffs.
Surprise.
This is true, but like I mean, there were similar elements with number 11 a couple of years ago, so I don't think it'll be a far cry for him to be able to play off a guy, and he plays off of Jimmy plenty. So. In terms of like what it actually looks like, I don't think it's going to be much of an adjustment. Obviously, I'm not calling Victor Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, or anything like that. But in terms of a ball dominant guy,
you better not call him number 11 either. You take that back, Nekias Duncan.
Do you mean Dion Waiters or Birdman?
Who?
Oh my god!
but no, I don't.
Champ cheese.
But no, I don't think that you have to worry much about Goran on the chemistry front. Like I think he's played in enough 2-guard and even 3-guard lineups at times during his Heat tenure to where he'll be able to fit in pretty smoothly.
Would you like those looks if they did that? If they went Goran, Depot, and like say Tyler?
Like it's fine. Like I'm fine with that as like a hybrid second unit type deal.
I think you can't play that with Bjelica. I think Bam has to be the big there, and either Andre or Jimmy have to be there.
I mean, that's fine, but that's also why it's a hybrid. Like, I think they can get quality minutes out of that game throughout the game. Like, you're not going to close with that. But
you play a stretch like that. You don't have to rely on it.
Right.
No, I like it. I was just curious as to I mean, they haven't done a lot of 3-guard stuff lately, especially. They've also had an excess of wings, and that Eric loves to play Andre. So
they've been missing Goran, and Depot just joined the team too. So.
Yeah, so I mean, Nunn and Dragic doesn't have the same ring to it as Depot and Dragic.
No, it doesn't.
Or Vincent.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that kind of brings me to, and I'm glad that we kind of talked about these hybrid units because Bjelica playing backup 5 is huge for them, and if he can survive defensively. And I worry about when they get to the Nets and when they get to the Bucks, when those teams downsize, and especially, I mean, like you just gonna have to avoid those lineups, especially with KD at the 4 or whatever the Nets want to do at the 5. I like it for them. I like it. I just think that they have to really work around it because if your backups come in and if they're Goran and Tyler and Bjelica, that scares me in a playoff series. Like when those are your 3 guys off the bench, I don't really know how you win those minutes because I just feel like even if you have Jimmy and Andre or Jimmy and Ariza, right, Nekias, like that's where I'm worried because at that point your guards can't defend and now you have a big and drop who can't defend.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. Like I think in that they would have to lean a little bit more on the helping if they do switch. Which, if you're going to have Jimmy and Iguodala out there at the same time, for example, like they are still tremendous help guys. So I think you can kind of mitigate it a little bit there. I think it would probably make more sense to go Ariza if you're not going to have Bam on the floor there, just so you have that extra length there and also an extra spacer. Because if you're playing those guys together, it's because you want to stretch the floor. You want to really put stress on another big that may be playing in drop. That's the value of Bjelica at the 5. And that's what I was tracking as he finally started getting minutes for Miami because he was playing some 4. He was playing some 4 alongside Bam. And I'm just like, that's cool. But like 4's defending Bjelica is manageable for a defense. Bjelica at the 5, you have to think a little bit because not only can
but that was a result of Andre missing and they just did not have another backup 4.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just saying in terms of if they want to look at that as a long-term look or if Bjelica's hit 5 threes through 3 quarters, if they want to close with him and Bam in the front court, for example, then I would worry about that because the spacing element just isn't going to be the same with him at the 4 versus the 5. So I think they would need to make sure they surround those guys, him, Goran, Tyler in particular, with length, with off-ball activity, so you can kind of survive defensively there, because offensively, the spacing benefits there are pretty clear.
Franky, that's where I can see like maybe Gabe stealing some minutes.
Yeah,
like as probably one of their better after Depot guard defender.
Yeah, and one of those things about that lineup, like you definitely want Bjelica and Jimmy, because you want Jimmy to benefit off of Bjelica in the spacing, but you want that versatility, and you have guys like Andre, you have Nunn, you have Vincent, you have a lot of bodies that you can like mix and match with. The first thought of that I had about that lineup was one of the lineups that Golden State went to a lot when Andre was there, when they had their death lineups and stuff. It was the like all defense with Clay as the only shooter. It was Sean, Livingston, Andre, Draymond, Clay, and then it was like Barbosa, like another guy who can get to the cup. And they would just get stops, move the ball, and hit a couple shots. Clay was really the only shooter, but they were so versatile defensively. They would create a lot of steals, a lot of pressure on the other team, and then just run off that. And I would love to see something like that. Kelly, Kendrick can push the ball in transition and can score in transition. I like it better off the ball in transition. Gabe can push the ball, and defensively, Gabe's been really solid. So I think that there's a lot of matchups and a potential that Spo can play with, and we'll see what works.
I don't think those guys are going to play in the playoffs unless something has gone horribly wrong. I think their 9-man rotation is set. Jimmy, Bam, Goran, Duncan, Ariza, Oladipo, Iguodala, Hero, and Bjelica. It's 4 wings, 3 guards, 2 bigs. Then you have Gabe, Nunn, Precious, and KZ as a if something goes horribly wrong, please save us. Please help give us spot minutes. A look that I liked that from last game was they kind of stopped with the Dragic and Bjelica and Tyler together, and then they went Jimmy, Bjelica, Ariza, Dragic, and Duncan, and that look makes a lot more sense to me, because you get Jimmy and Ariza in the front court at the 3 and the 4, and then you get a little more size in your backcourt with Duncan, who's been pretty solid defensively, and then really like your only like super minus is Dragic back there, and if they put Dragic and Bjelica in pick and roll, you kind of give yourself a chance. Jimmy's just been an outrageous helper this year, and Ariza's been obviously all the length and everything we've talked about. So like I like looks like that, but Nick said, it will take adjusting of lineups and how they want to play their bench units. It's gonna be tinkered with.
Yes, I, for one, am excited to watch Eric Spoelstra tinker with his rotation with a bunch of players. We're not going to be frustrated with that at all.
No, Spotations. Who's going to hold him accountable when it doesn't go right?
I thought we had the answer, but we're still waiting on him to hold Spo accountable, so we got to keep searching.
Alex Toledo of Locked On Heat, you have a job to do, and you better do it. I like the Bjelica at the 5 minutes. I like them. He's no KO, who, by the way, have you guys seen what KO's doing in Houston?
You just want the chat to shit on you, don't you?
No, I'm just saying, have you seen it? Why is that bad?
Because just the tweets today when you mentioned Kelly, everybody, I saw the mentions.
But why? That was confusing to me. Why did everybody get mad?
That's how they treat every former Heat player. Like what Heat player has left, and Heat fans, and like the majority of casual Heat fans like them.
Dwayne.
That's Dwayne.
I know.
That makes my
Is
point.
Dwayne the only one? No, Dwayne can't be the only one.
Even LeBron gets it.
No, Birdman was still loved.
Birdman didn't play.
Birdman played like 6 more games after he left Miami.
Yeah, but we still loved him. Mike Miller. No, Mike Miller was.
It was Mario. It was Mario. Might have been the only one.
Mario. Everybody loved Mario.
He played like 20 games because he got hurt.
No, Mike Miller was still loved too. When
he went to Cleveland, bro.
That was after. But like when he was, what was his first team back? Was it Memphis? It was Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there when that game was like, they loved him. The fans still loved him. Bro. Beasley. Schmied the Smolnik says Beasley.
Yeah, but that was more as a joke.
No, we love Mike. That's not fair. We love Michael Beasley.
And Beasley also left like 15 times. So like, which time are we talking about?
I'll say we have plenty of experience with Michael Beasley leaving the Heat.
He's good. No, but like I see Olynyk finally shooting the damn ball well as a Rocket, and I was like,
He said
this is what he does though.
He said he feels free. He feels like
what is that supposed to be, Kelly?
The team isn't trying to win. Like he could just kind of fling it.
He's chucking shots.
He was flinging it here. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, like the pressure's off. Is Steven Silas gonna be like, nah, bro, too many shots. DJ Wilson, get in there. He probably should, but no.
We got to give Jayshawn Tate more shots. Sorry, Kelly.
Unironically, you do need to get that man's good. That man is good. He's very good.
Look at you.
It was just
Kelly
a funny
Olynyk's
name.
Like on the,
Damn it. It was just a funny name. I know he's a good player.
Can't let it ride. Can't.
Olynyk's on that like Terrence Ross diet, just like shooting everything he can. Terrence Ross is fun to watch right now.
Yeah, Raptor killer.
He killer. Everybody killer. I mean, dude's letting it fly. I've been thinking about the Nets matchup a lot, guys, because they might get the 1 seed, which by the way, Ben Simmons has looked really stinky for a month and a half. So something to monitor over there in Philly. They might not get the 1 seed, and if the Heat can't get to 3. And I think they're just going to win as much as – and they're better than Atlanta, New York, and Charlotte and all those other teams and Boston. They're just better than those teams. So I think – and their schedule's like pretty whatever kind of remaining. I think they likely get the 4 seed. And that second-round matchup's going to be them and probably Brooklyn. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And I'm thinking, well, how are they going to – I think their starters are going to be fine, right? We're probably starting – what they're doing now, right? The Jimmy, Oladipo, Bam, Duncan, Ariza kind of lineup. I don't think Dragic starts in the playoffs like last season. I think that he's just going to be a guy off the bench. And I think the starting units are going to be fine defensively. And then everything after that is where I worry. And we touched on that with Bjelica a little bit. But, like, I don't – especially, like – Nekias, how much are they going KD at the 5? That's something that really worries me because I don't think the Heat have a lot of solutions.
I don't think. I mean, they haven't done it much this year at all, and also the fact that they've added like a combined 147 years of center depth over the last 3 weeks. I don't think they want to play him at the 5 at all. Like, if anything, they're just gonna go Jeff Green. Or
that's a win for Miami. That's a win for Miami. I mean, they out of all those guys, I mean. We saw what Bam did to Jeff Green twice.
This is true. So, I mean, maybe it's Green, maybe it's Claxton. Like, if Aldridge has the jumper going.
Not looking good for your boy.
Oh.
Like, the game Sunday against Chicago was the one where I'm just like, all right, what are we doing here? Because, like, he's still been closing games outside of that one. It was very odd to watch. Like, Aldridge plus minus in that game was awful, but, like, he was actually pretty good in the game on both ends. I have no idea what Blake Griffin
That's not doing. The agenda, Nekias. We're not pushing that agenda.
Okay.
Big mad.
I have no idea why Blake was on the court past the first quarter. But that's neither here nor there. The moral of the story is I don't think KD at the 5 is going to be a massive option for Brooklyn. I just don't think they want to do that.
Like, do you worry about Miami's bench unit surviving? Like, I'm horrified of their bench unit surviving because I just see them bleeding points in a playoff series where they just, like, I see situations where, like, Tyler and Dragic just, like, literally cannot exist together on the court.
If we're looking at a Brooklyn matchup, I would be slightly concerned because that means they're probably going to have at least one of Kyrie or James Harden on the court at all times, or at least they should. And with that, both of those guys can kind of mismatch hunt. And if they also have LaMarcus Aldridge at the 5 specifically, then like he can still post up guards. So I would worry about Miami kind of switching themselves into 2 mismatches to where you may have Bjelica guarding a James Harden in isolation.
Oh, but I don't think they'll switch those. I don't think they switch Bjelica at all. I mean,
they try not to, but
late shot clock stuff, yeah. But like, I think anything before 7 seconds, they're pretty committed to dropping him.
Oh no, I'm not saying Miami would want to switch that, but I'm just saying just by the nature of how Harden handles the ball, like I'm sure he will be able to draw out that mismatch if he wants to. And from there, then Miami's you either have to send some extra attention there, or if it's Aldridge posting up like Tyler Hero in a second unit, then that could be problematic. And you have to send help there, and there's shooters everywhere. So I'm a little bit concerned on that front.
But like, I think this is gonna be so on brand for me, but I think any Aldridge minutes, the Heat, that's a win for them. Anytime Aldridge is there, especially with Duncan, if he's playing the 5, any handoff they run,
right,
like that's a win because he's gonna drop. He's not gonna come up to the level, and Duncan's gonna have that space, and whoever's defending him, whether it's probably Joe Harris, probably, I imagine, or I don't think they'll run Harden or Kyrie chasing him around all game. So
it's probably Harris or Bruce Brown if they sprinkle him in there.
So
shout out Bruce Brown.
I mean, any Blake or Aldridge minutes, I think that they win those. Something I liked last year that they did against the Lakers to kind of force them small was they would have Dwight guard Jay Crowder, and then they would just have Jay Crowder trigger their handoff, and then Dwight has to drop, and then Duncan kind of springs free, and they do stuff like that. So, like, I think I haven't seen them do too much of that with Ariza, but I'd like to see it, especially when they have bigger guys defending him. But Franky, I've been thinking about that matchup, and it really scares me. Like those bench units defensively, I think the Heat are going to be able to score against them pretty okay, which is funny to say because the offense has kind of been the concern all year.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Brooklyn's got a historically great offense with a historically awful defense. So,
are we at historically awful defense levels yet? Is it there?
They're like 29th, I think. They're not even like the worst team in the defense in the league, and I think they've been better as of late. Anyway, so
are they better than those Cavs teams defensively?
Nah,
Nekias, the really bad ones, the really bad defensive LeBron Cavs teams. Are the Nets better or worse than those?
Oh yeah, they're better.
Yeah, those Cavs teams are like legit awful. Because at least like KD's still like trying.
Yeah. But Miami has to, not shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, we also haven't played them in a while, so that I'm interested in that matchup. I want to see
like 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's a good and they still haven't played fully healthy, all their guys, so they still don't know. They still have a lot of work to do on both ends there, trying to get their rhythm and stuff like that. So I'm interested in it. I'm not concerned about it yet, just because Miami still has a lot of work to put in and to correct themselves before we can even think about that kind of matchup. But somebody in the chat said that the Nets should be the only team that the Heat lose to in the East side. And I kind of like Milwaukee's gotten better, but I still like Miami's. I'm still not afraid of them until Giannis can do something from 15 feet out. They don't scare me.
That's funny because I feel that way about the Sixers. Like I'm just like, I don't think the Sixers have answered the question of kind of where Simmons is in the offense late. And I know that they've just been very successful at posting up Joel Embiid, and they've managed to get those entry passes in safe. But I always like to remind people, Joel Embiid has a negative assist to turnover ratio. And Eric Spoelstra, his entire tenure in Miami, outside of a couple years with a certain center, has always been at a size disadvantage. And especially in the playoffs, the Heat have his Eric Spoelstra teams front help recover, and they've been great at that. And I think now more than ever, they have like the quick hands and the bodies and the foot speed and their rotations have been so fucking disciplined. I mean, even guys like Tyler have been very, very clean in their rotations. Now, whether he stays in front of a guy is a different story, but they know where they have to be, and they're very good and they're very disciplined. They're very clean. So like Nekias, like a team like Philly, while I understand the matchup advantage, I mean, even against Bam that Embiid is going to have, I mean, I think even with Bam, they're going to double, they're going to front, and they're going to rotate. And if those shooters beat you, then they beat you. But they're going to really try to turn the ball over. And I don't hate that for them.
Yeah, like I think if you're in Miami, I don't think you're afraid of a Philadelphia matchup. I mean, Miami's not going to be afraid of anyone. Let's start there. But if you're talking about like the odds of them losing a series, like I think they have more than a puncher's chance against Philadelphia. Brooklyn and Milwaukee, I still say they should be favored if those two were to match up. But yeah, like I mean, Miami has the defensive principles to pull off. I mean, to be able to beat anybody in the East, and I think adding the kind of depth that they did without giving up really any word of consequence outside of Kelly Olynyk just makes them more of a threat in the East if things click all the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing is that like I think in theory they can have the best player on the floor in every series except for Brooklyn, because we've seen Jimmy Butler outplay Giannis in a playoff series, and you know we've seen it Bam outplay Jason Tatum in a playoff series, right? So all that stuff. So I think they also have that kind of element against the Nets. There's too much talent there, and they won't. At best, they'll have the third.
Yeah,
and you just gotta bank on other stuff.
Yeah, I think the best case scenario would be Philly winning the 1 seed, and then you let Milwaukee and Brooklyn battle it out. Hope Milwaukee takes Brooklyn, and then you can. I think that's like the best route Miami could hope for. Miami sneak into the 4-5 matchup.
I'm excited. I'm so pumped for basketball. Like the second half, I think the early returns. I would say the early returns are positive on Depot, Ariza, and Bjelica. Professor Big Shot, would y'all agree?
Yeah.
The stonks are trending up,
and he's only shooting 30% from 3 with the Heat.
Who?
Bjelica.
Ariza? Oh, Bjelica. Only?
Yeah.
I feel like
there's been a lot of misses.
Yeah.
That's the story of their offense this season.
This is also true. Also, just got an alert. James Harden did play today, and he left the game against the Knicks with more hamstring issues. So that's going to be something to monitor on Brooklyn's side. That could impact seeding if they hold him out and KD isn't back yet. And we just saw a Kyrie-led Brooklyn team without Harden and Durant lose to the Chicago Bulls. So we shall see.
And that was my thing with the Oladipo trade after I got over like Lowry not being here, is that you really, if things break right for the Heat.
Hold on. After you got over?
After I got over, like
you still haven't gotten over it.
Not like totally, but like I've come to the acceptance phase of like, okay, this is what we got. That Miami put themselves in a position that, I mean, I thought before the trade they were the 4th best team in the East, and I thought after the trade they're still the 4th best team in the East. But if you get a couple matchups that you like, and if maybe you get a little luck, if somebody's hamstring's not 100% right, if somebody's foot's not great, and if everything clicks for you, so if you get a Dragic that's hitting threes and that is somewhat of a downhill threat, if you get an Oladipo that is comfortable in the offense and is getting to the rim and has a decent pull-up, and you get what you expect out of Jimmy and what you expect out of Bam, and if Duncan, like he's doing, has really found his soul and he's firing. We haven't even gotten to him yet. And which I'll probably a couple minutes we'll talk about him and then we'll get out of here. I think you give yourself a chance to make a finals. I don't think it's crazy. Am I?
I don't think it's crazy. Like again, you said you think Miami's the 4th best team in the East right now. I would agree with that, even with their added depth. But the playoffs are a matchup game, and Miami has specific things and specific matchups to pick on in each of those matchups against those other 3 teams. So depending on how the shooting falls, and Miami's shooting is not what it was last year, so that's a concern. But if the shooting does fall, and now you add in the added length of a guy like Trevor Ariza, you add in the point of attack defense from a Victor Oladipo, the presence of Oladipo allows you to slow play things with Dragic, and he's fresher for the postseason run, so now you have another attacker. Like, it's very easy to envision a scenario where the Miami Heat can make the finals again. Like, nobody should be shocked if the Heat make the finals.
We wouldn't bet on it,
right?
but
if you saw the route there, it's like the seedings lined up for Miami. I think I think we know Christian's gonna put some money down, but the rest of you guys, I would feel comfortable. I would feel very comfortable.
I feel good about us, to quote Pat Riley. I feel good about us.
I don't trust Philly. I still don't trust Philly, and like Nekias says, you're still the 4th best team. But I think the Oladipo and Ariza moves turned them back into an Eastern Conference finalist contender. Before that, I don't think there was any way they were winning the second round even. And there was the wrong matchup, you might lose in the first. But now with these moves, I'm very confident in this team and moving forward, health permitting, of course. And you still have Jimmy Butler, you still have Bam Adebayo. You're gonna have two of the three best players in almost every series. So
they'll have the best coach in every playoff series.
You have the best conditioned in every playoff series. You have the hardest working in every playoff series. You have the fucking guts in every playoff series. Let's go.
Bjelica is like the epitome of white privilege because James Johnson couldn't play because of fitness, and then Bjelica just kind of waltz on in. It's always funny to me. White privilege exists in Pat Riley's America.
They don't call him Skinny Litza.
I wish we could end there. I do want to get into Duncan for a second. God, that would have been such a fucking good joke to end on. Because we haven't talked about Duncan, and Duncan's been absolutely bonkers. I think, Nekias, you said on the Dunker spot via our friends at Instat. Shout out to Instat. You're going to be seeing their name a lot around here. They're going to their information.
They're great.
Yeah, they're great. And I, listen, I'm having fun with them. He's been shooting like 50% off handoffs, which is just outrageous. And Nekias, I think a lot of it isn't even, they're not scheming him differently. It's not even, it's just, he's just hitting shots. I think he's a little listen, I watched 30 minutes of Duncan Robinson handoff, exclusively Duncan Robinson handoffs. It was mesmerizing.
Instant plug. This is some fantastic, bro.
Oh, listen. They will break down the plays like, okay, these are all of Duncan Robinson's handoff plays. And I'm like, okay. And it just flows, right? It all meshes together. And as they're mesmerized watching him fly off screens and shoot it. Oh God, it's beautiful. And the one thing I noticed was I don't think they're doing anything real different. I think he's a little less hurried. I think that was one thing. He was always a little hurried, not because of, I don't want to even say the way he's defended. It's just, he was just a little hurried. I don't know. Nekias, I don't think they're doing much differently. I just think he's hitting shots, which is just a lame thing to like say, but like sometimes it's true.
I mean, yeah, like he's getting the contested looks to go back down again. And I think that was a fun yet kind of under-discussed factor of his great shooting season last year. Like, he made an unbelievable amount of shots with hands in his face. And he hasn't done that to the same level this year, which, hey, you're not supposed to expect that. Like, his shooting season was anomalous last year. But once you look into, hey, why is he, quote-unquote, only shooting 40% from three this year? Part of that is why. And now that he's knocking down these FU threes again, I don't know what you do differently. I mean, you're technically defending those plays well, and he's knocking them down. So as he's gotten more comfortable there, like I think the confidence is going to rise for the spot up looks, because why wouldn't they if you can knock down a shot over a 6'7" guy with a hand in his face? So that's just going to help open up the offense even more. If teams try to divert even more attention to him, they're already putting like their best or second best on ball guy to track him over screens. So if there isn't much you can do there outside of switch, and Miami has a switch hunter in Jimmy Butler, then it just kind of gets tough for your defense.
And I do want to push back on they haven't changed much. I mean, it's easy to say Duncan's hitting his shots, but the first half of the season, man, they were so slow getting into their offense. They
still are though.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't the same. They were starting the first handoff was starting with 14 seconds like on the dot, and they were like spamming it. They would go try the handoff 3 times, and then
the revolving door of handoffs.
It's 6 seconds left. You kick it to Gabe Vincent for a contested 3, and you're wondering why you can't fucking score.
Gabe, I would have killed for that. It was always Andre.
Yeah, but that was the thing. They had no urgency. They never went to their second options on offense. Now that lately they've been doing it a lot more. The handoff's not there. They flip the screen. Duncan pushes the ball, tries to attack to the cup, kicks it out. You run. It flows into something else. Before they're just relying on it so much. It's like you're playing Madden and you just keep running HB dive, HB dive, HB dive, and you're like, all right, why isn't it the hole opening up?
So Marco in chat says, I agree with Franky. It's been less handoffs, and it has been less handoffs. And I know Spo said it, but I mean the numbers bear that out. If you look at their handoffs per month, it's gone down. They've gone to more pick and rolls, but in particular with Duncan. I mean, his money comes from the handoffs. So they're still running the handoffs for Duncan. Like, that hasn't changed. I think his decision-making has gotten better. He's just a better player. I mean, he's more willing to go to the rim as a little lob thrower. That's been cute. His passing, Nekias, I think, has been a lot improved too. He's been hitting Bam in the pocket really consistently. He's seeing that quicker when that second man steps up. I think he's kind of making those reads a lot better, and that's just kind of, I think, opened his game up a little bit.
Yeah, like the improvement of complementary skills are important, which is a duh thing to say, but that's also kind of why I was like, even when he was in the middle of the shooting slump that he was in, I never went as far as to say like Duncan's been bad this year, because he hasn't been. He's still insanely important to the offense. He has actually improved facets of his game. He's improved on both ends of the floor, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So it was only a matter of time before the shot progressed to the mean, well, his version of the mean anyway, which is still darn near historic. Like this year, he's had the dip and he's still at 40% from three on over 8 attempts.
This is a down year. This is everybody complaining.
Like, you know how good you have to be as a shooter for 40% on like 8 attempts to be a down year for you? Like, that's...
Fan base was legitimately angry with him. Like, angry. They're like, this is not what I signed up for.
Like, the ceiling is actually the roof. It's kind of tough for him.
He's wild, man. I love watching him play basketball. He's insane. Couple quick hitters before we get out, because we've gone a little long. I want to highlight, and I wanted to do this with Nekias because his podcast, The Dunker Spot. I think Andre's passing out of the dunker spot has been fucking phenomenal this year. I think he, as a decision maker for them, has been incredible. And I know that he's just a bad spacer and a negative spacer. But when he's there, that little dump off pass, and he makes great reads off of that, kicking it back out to guys. And when they're firing, that looks really good. I love that for them. Like, that's been something that I don't think we've talked about a lot. But I wanted to give Andre his props, and I did it with the host of the Dunker Spot.
I appreciate the plug. I appreciate the reference. And like, yeah, Andre Iguodala he's always been a good decision maker. Like, he's always going to have that part of his game. It's important for Miami to find other uses for him on offense, because stashing him in the corner is the simple thing to do, but teams also just kind of ignore him in the corner. And that's where you know where you are as a shooter, when teams are willing to leave you in the easiest spot to knock down spot up looks. So the fact that Miami is kind of varying where they have him makes defenses think a little bit more, because he's not going to bring it as a shooter. He's not really going to bring it as a finisher either, but just putting him in a more threatening area of the floor and allowing him to make quick decisions there, it makes things run a little bit more smoothly. Very quietly, him with the handoffs, especially in transition, they haven't really had the same juice as in years past either. So I think it's even more important that they found a way to make him useful in the half court.
He's shooting 33% from three this season, which is exactly his career, .333, and his career average is .333. So we are getting the most Andre Iguodala version of Andre Iguodala. He's been fun. I love him. I think he's been better than last year, just unequivocally. And there's a lot. I'm so excited. He's great. I think the coaching staff's been awesome. I think they had a rough kind of go at it, but I think that they've really, I think Spo, sometimes by people who maybe don't understand the nuances of what they're doing, and that's not to talk down to anybody. I know it can be tough, but they're trying stuff, and I think that the coaching staff has really adjusted a lot of what they've done this season, and they've really changed stuff from it be the handoffs to where they park Andre to kind of the lineup variations to get more defense. They've tried different things. Precious out of the rotation, got some minutes yesterday. I thought looked okay. Worst hand since Joel Anthony. I hope he figures it out, because I like him, and they need him to be good next season so that they can really get stuff. And if they can buy some minutes with him, that's really great. Nekias, do you have any articles you want to plug before we get out of here?
I will have an article up tomorrow. I will have my weekly piece, Roaming the Baseline. That's going to be dropping Wednesday, and I will have something else on Friday. That's my writing schedule now. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday drops, unless life happens. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. Check out the latest episode of The Dunker Spot if you haven't already. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Podbean, wherever you get your podcast. Check me and Steve Jones Jr. out. We're having fun and we're talking hoops. Can't ask for much better than that.
So I love when we were talking about Andre, Marco in chat says, I don't want to hear Nekias compliment an old guy.
I don't know if I like this narrative. I'm gonna be honest.
You know what's funny is that we like the same washed bigs because you and I were in on Marc Gasol, right? But we're like out on everybody else, which I don't know what's going on there. Is that just us being basketball hipsters?
Partly, but like Marc Gasol is good.
I think so too, but like everyone's like, you can't like Mark, you can't not want LaMarcus Aldridge and want Marc Gasol. And I was like, I feel like I can, but I was like, maybe I don't have some self-awareness. I don't know.
What kills me about conversations about like guys like Marc Gasol, Gorgie Chain to a lesser extent, and I'll be quick since we're about to end.
Gorgie was such a basketball hipster. Like you and I were listening.
It's so odd to hear the conversations about like, hey man, nobody wants to hear about these fancy numbers. It's all about the eye test. And then when you say someone like Marc Gasol is good, it's well, he only averages 5 points. What do you mean he's good? And it's just like, what do y'all actually want in terms of?
He lost his minutes to Andre Drummond. That's a bad look, though. I mean, when you're losing your minutes to Andre Drummond, there are legitimate questions.
Man, that's politics.
That's politics. If the Lakers are smart, they would just play Marc.
Thank you.
So you know,
how nice would Marc be here as a backup big?
Man, how nice would it have been to face Andre Drummond on the Lakers last year?
Oh my God.
You imagine Andre Drummond guarding a fucking dribble handoff? Come on.
I've seen it. It looks bad. He's not good. Listen, he's not good. Nekias was very polite on the timeline, which I was disappointed in you when you said, oh, yeah, this is okay by Andre Drummond. I was like, listen, which side are you on here? You team no wash bigs or not? Okay? Pick side, man.
Like he played Milwaukee. Like it's fine. Like they were supposed to lose. It is what it is. Like I've made my concerns about Andre Drummond on both ends of the floor very clear. Let me tell you, on the timeline, in an article, on the podcast, like
well documented,
very well documented.
Franky, you want to plug? I know what you want to plug on the way out.
Oh yes, you better not give me a hard out. You fucking.
I'm not. I'm gonna let you do it.
Hey guys, check out Stream Beat.